Alrighty, I'm here. Alrighty, I think I've made this. I think I've made this. I talked about this subject before. I think I've talked about it a few times in different ways. But I just saw a video, and I think the guy was trying to explain it, but it was more of a technical way he was explaining why recording studios are closing. But I'm gonna try to make it really, really simple. The reason why the recording studios are closing is because technology has caught up, and people have found it more cost effective to do it in their homes, and because it's so much cheaper to buy gear. The only really limitations to recording is if you have the space. But it really depends on the genre of music that you do. So if you're doing EDM, techno music, trap music, hip hop, electronic music, or whatever, and all you're going to do is use keyboards, virtual instruments, or whatever, you really don't need a ton of equipment. And you really, and honestly, you don't even need a lot of outboard gear. So most people find it very, very effective to just buy a pretty nice audio interface, whatever they want, whatever they're choosing, whatever DAW, whatever choice of plugins, audio interface, buy themselves the studio monitors and some microphones, and they're up and running. And it's just a matter of where they're going to record, the space. So most people realize that it is so much easier. Like, I'm making this video going on 1 o'clock in the morning, right? The studio, the way they used to run is artists and producers and all that, and engineers, especially if they don't own the studio, couldn't just go into a studio at 1 o'clock in the morning unless they are booked to have the studio. The studio's renting it to them. Other than that, you're not getting in there. But people are liking the luxury of being able to get in their studio 1 o'clock in the morning if they want. And what's great about it is, like, for me, I can be in this room in my studio anytime I want. That's the reason why most recording studios, it's like in as far as the gear and equipment, that's really boils down to how much money people are willing to spend for it. There's always going to be a lot of people that says a home studio is not going to compete with a commercial studio. I don't think a home recording studio is trying to compete with a commercial studio. The only people that's trying to compete with a commercial studio would be another commercial studio. This is the reason why they advertise the gear, to draw in producers and engineers and artists. This is why they advertise their gear in the first place. They'll put the listing of the gear that they got, so that will attract producers. Like, yes, I have a CL1B. I have a Neumann U87 microphone or whatever. I have a Sony C800G or whatever. They have a list of that, so that when the producer and engineer say, yes, he got the gear, so we're gonna rent that studio. But now there will always be the argument of the space. There's always going to be the argument, and I know this is probably because of the way this pop filter, I can do it. I guess I can do it like this. Yes, I guess I can do it like this. I think I'm coming down with a cold, but I think my artist that was over here, I think she had something. I think she a cold. I think she gave it to me. But I'm a let her know. I think you got me sick. I think she was coming down with cold and she got me sick because my throat feels funny. But anyhow, so that's really the basis of it. The pandemic kind of helped when we went into the 2020 pandemic. It kind of helped exacerbate, or I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, the reasoning to doing this at home. And I, believe it or not, I was thinking about even all the, probably probably favorite engineer that you may watch on YouTube. Like Bob Clearmountain has his own recording studio. Warren Hewitt has his own recording studio. And there's just a lot of them. A lot of them. Most people that are even in the, in the music engineering business or recording studio business have their own recording studios. So really, to sum up the video, you think about it, I think he had mentioned some recording studios, but there's a lot more. Even the record plant has closed. And it's kind of like when you got Capitol Studios, which is temporary closed, Westlake, and then there's so many that have already closed. I think United Way, Ocean Way / United, I think they closed. It was on the news of United Ocean Way closing and laying off employees or whatever. Because think about all the cost of the amount of people they have to pay. Other than if they don't own the building, the rent could be anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on the square footage of the building. Depends on the building. Depends on the building. If they're leasing or renting the building, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 a month. That's not including the light, electricity, which it could be anywhere from $1,200 to $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month, maybe $2,000 a month, because the AC and the lights are always running. Then the maintenance. You got a maintenance staff, how much they're paying them an hour. Then you got a studio manager, how much they're paying them an hour, and so forth. So the costs can be expensive, and if they're not getting the clients, which record labels, the music industry, which is too long to explain in this video, because people just don't go, because the budget isn't there, because the way the old system is, record labels with all these advances and all that, and the money, and going to a commercial studio was the way. That was the normal. That was the normal way. But now, even artists, everyone's building their own personal recording studios. Like and even some of these celebrity artists, they may have a recording studio. They may not be engineering, but they're hiring engineers to come to their studios. Like for example, Prince had Paisley Park. That was his personal recording studio, and he hired engineers to come to Paisley Park, which is, attached to his home. And he's not the only one. Whitney Houston had a recording studio in her house when she was alive. It's just so much easier to buy gear and do it in your home. It's just the nature of the, what it is. It's just, so the commercial recording studio is going to continue to fade. And now that they're making plugins of even the live rooms of these famous recording studios, there's like Fame, Sunset, Air Studios are making a plugin, Blackbird is making a plugin, of the get the room sound. Most people just record their drums and put that room sound, and to get that same sound. So if they record their drums or whatever, it's like, well, I don't need to go to Sunset Sound. I can just put the plug in. Most of the time, if it's done right, you're not going to hear the difference in the mix anyway. So it's that's pretty much the basis of it. It's just easier for people to buy gear, software, plugins, and whatever, and just do it at home. And they don't have to worry about booking the studio and paying for the studio time. They don't have to travel and everything else. They can stay in the luxury of their own home. And that's pretty much, I think, with what we got today and what we can buy today and all the gear and equipment, it just changed the need to go to a recording studio. Even though recording studios, commercial recording studios have always been awesome, because all the big name celebrities used to go to those recording studios. But let's say for example some of your favorite artists went to the record plant. You're not going to get that experience anyway, because the record plant's closed. So how are you going to go? There are some people that argue you need to go to those recording studios because of the experience. Well, you're not going to get the experience. I was watching one last video. I'm in a video like this. I was watching a video. There was a video where REO Speedwagon, I believe REO Speedwagon, it was in North Carolina. They had recorded at this famous recording studio, but they were showing a video of the guy doing a walkthrough of the recording studio, where there used to be a recording studio, and they said the next day the building's going to be demolished. And he was doing a walkthrough, showing a live room and what the control room and how everything used to look. And they had everything stripped and tore out. And it looked like a really nice recording studio. Like, I'm like, man, that would have been. It's like people that want to have a recording, that have a building and recording studio. It's almost like, man, that's such a waste. It was such a nice building, but a lot of times with those kind of recording studios, they just can't afford. They probably didn't own the building. They probably just was leasing the building and spent millions of dollars renovating and getting all that gear and drawing all those artists. But they, when this, the business is like anything else. When they take certain neighborhoods and tear them down to build like a major infrastructure, like a highway through it or whatever, you can't compete with the money. It's like my house right now. If they want to build a major highway through here, all they're gonna do is just buy my property out. Give me whatever my value of my home is worth, on the market, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, whatever it's worth. They're gonna pay me that, and I'm just gonna be packing up and moving. And next, they probably demolish this house and make a highway through it. That's just how it works. So that's, I was trying to make it a short answer, but that's really the deal of why the recording studios are closing. People aren't needing to go to recording studios as much anymore, because everyone can do this at home now. That's the short answer. And there's always going to be some comment, well, if you do it at home, but not everyone has the experience. Some artists at home, like for example, George Duke had a recording studio. He did all his albums in his home. But George Duke wasn't trying to be an engineer. He hired an engineer to come to his home to do the studio. So sometimes it ain't about someone having experience in recording all that. Sometimes people hire engineers to come to their homes to engineer for them. So other than that, that's going to be my take on it. It's the music industry's changed, and everyone's doing this at home now. That's really the bulk of it. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.